Hey guys, what's going on? Proud London here. You guys know what to do. As always, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Today we're going to be talking about a bunch of different topics. Timo Werner is involved, so of course, given that all this massive news is broke down, I got to involve him in this video, so make sure you stick around, watch the whole video. So the first thing I wanted to go over is how are Chelsea going to line up for next season? Of course, we've still got this season to play, so we've got to try and get Champions League football, see if we can creep up to third if possible, but realistically I think fourth is where we need to be aiming for this season. But next season, what are the plans? Who's playing where, and how are we going to manage all these great players that we've got? So this is the formation I've gone with, and that is Tammy Abraham up front. Now, of course, there's an argument for Timo Werner, who I put on the left, being up front because he's such a good goal scorer. And this season, Timo Werner has learned how to play a little more free roaming, how to play within the space, within the pockets and stuff like that. And compared to the season before, where you noticed he was a lot more traditional striker, trying to play off the shoulder of, the last two centre-backs. So I think Abraham up front makes sense. Timo Werner with a wide role and the ability to cut inside and cause a lot of damage makes a lot of sense. So I think that'd be a really good dynamic sort of position for him. And then in the centre attacking midfield role, we have Christian Pulisic. So you could make an argument for Hakim Ziyech playing here because he's great with both feet. He can play in the centre as well. But I think Hakim Ziyech out on the wing is where we're going to want him. I think we're going to need crosses into Tammy Abraham, and seeing Reece James and Hakim Ziyech, both great crosses of the ball, out on that right side will be essential. So I think keeping Hakim Ziyech out on the right-hand side makes sense with Christian Pulisic in the middle, because I think he's got that sort of nimble, sort of Hazard-esque, dribbling ability to him, capable of beating a man or two, and then offloading it to the wingers to be able to cross in for Tammy Abraham. And of course, the beauty of us buying players like Timo Werner, Hakim Ziyech, we've got Christian Pulisic, is that they are so versatile. They can play, Hakim Ziyech can play centre midfield, he can play centre attacking midfield, he can play on the right. Pulisic can play left, right, centre. Timo Werner can play striker, can play right wing, but mostly on the left if he was going to be on a wing. We've got the option to just twist all these players around. We've got Mason, who can play centre attacking midfield, centre midfield, left wing. Ruben, who realistically can play on the wing, can play a cam role, can play a second striker role. There's so many different options. So I think those four up front, Tammy, Ziyech, Pulisic, Werner, sounds really good. And of course, there are still links with us trying to go for Kai Havertz, who, it sounds a bit crazy to think we've signed Timo Werner. It's essentially done. And we're still looking to go for Kai Havertz, and it's possible that we'd see him playing in this role where Pulisic is, and I wouldn't be against it. But then at the same time, you've got to wonder what happens to Mason, what happens to Ruben. There's not enough game time to fit all these players in, so someone will be losing out. But then for the two centre defensive midfielders, I've gone for Kante and Kovacic. So of course you got the sort of Kante. I'd like to see him utilised a lot more defensively as more of a CDM. Sort of just defensive midfielder, able to just protect the back line, be an anchor man, run across the back line, making tackles where he's needed. And then Kovacic to be the sort of box-to-box, travelling up and down the pitch. He's got great dribbling ability. He can beat a man, get a pass into Pulisic, out to the wings, inside to Tammy, goal. Even with Hakim Ziyech, imagine Hakim Ziyech crossing off the right wing, across, say it goes over Tammy's head. You've got Timo Werner sat on the other side of that, waiting to nestle it into the top corner. So there's a lot of options here, and I definitely think this would work well. And then for the fullbacks, I've got Reece James, of course, on the right side, and then Nicolas Tagliafico on the left. So there's a lot of links between us and Ben Chilwell at the moment, and he is our number one target at the moment. He's a priority, and I'm not against getting Ben Chilwell. I'm considering now that, we've got Timo Werner, Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, potentially Kai Havertz, Tammy Abraham up front. Got the option for Callum Hudson-Odoi to come on. We've got a lot of attacking threat, a lot of creativity, and a lot of goals within this team now. So I'm thinking having a left back that is bombing forward, trying to get assists and goals, yes, it would work really well. Having him link up with Timo Werner on the left would be beautiful, and crossing into Tammy Abraham, that would be really nice. But you got to remember that too much attack can be a problem. So I think Tagliafico is a good blend between someone who can go forward but can also defend well. And I think we're going to struggle to get Ben Chilwell because Leicester value him so highly, they don't want to sell him. I'd be really surprised to see us spend, 60, 70 plus million on Ben Chilwell. I hope the club don't see that as a necessary spending when Tagliafico is their backup option at the moment, and is only going to cost about 22.4 million. So it'd be a great move for us to get Tagliafico. He's my preferred option. I do think Ben Chilwell would do a good job here though, but I only want to see that happen if the fee is like 40 million, somewhere around there. And then for the centre-backs, I've got Tomori, who I think is, we saw glimpses of him last season, but I want to see Tomori playing, solidly this season. And I want to see him getting a good run of game time. We saw him have a good stretch, but then he sort of fell out of the team somehow. And I'm not entirely sure why it happened, but he did. And Rudiger, of course, we saw him coming back from injury and came into the team, and a lot of people hated on Rudiger. He did make some mistakes, but I think we need an element of experience in there, and I do think, as we'll talk about in a short while, there are links with this selling Kurt Zouma, so you could make an argument for Christensen in there, but I feel like then you've got Tomori, who isn't the most physical. I feel like his pace and his tackling is good, is his strengths. Christensen, not very strong. Rudiger is quite physical, so I think you do need a physical element in there. I wouldn't be opposed to us signing another centre-back to sort of, upgrade that defence a little bit. But is a centre-back going to be one of our priorities? I don't think so. And then between the sticks, I have got, of course, Kepa Arrizabalaga. So, this team in general is very nice. Rudiger is probably the weakest point, I would think. You've got Jorginho that still needs to fit into a team somehow, get minutes somewhere. Mason Mount, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Callum Hudson-Odoi. Like, there's a lot of players in here that we need to fit into a team. I could very much make an argument for Timo Werner going in the cam role, because he could be a beautiful, second striker. Imagine having the threat of, okay, you deal with the striker, and Tammy Abraham is marked, and then Timo Werner is running onto the edge of the box, because he scores most of his goals in the sort of 18-yard box. So having him central is probably the best thing for us, but as we've seen, he can score goals from any part of the pitch. So Timo Werner, I could see him playing on the left. I could see him playing as a sort of cam second striker. I could see him playing striker, but then that means Tammy Abraham doesn't get into the team. And I think Tammy Abraham has got a lot to show for us in the next season. So that is my sort of starting 11 for next season. Of course, if Kai Havertz signs, then I guess you plop him in at cam, Werner on the left, Hakim Ziyech on the right. Pulisic and Callum Hudson-Odoi, I guess they just miss out and get rotational minutes unless they start proving that they're worthy of a starting spot. But I don't see how you're going to displace Timo Werner and Hakim Ziyech from that role. So then on to the story I mentioned, Zouma could be leaving, and that is because Mourinho is interested in him for a Spurs transfer, which, I never like a Spurs transfer. I don't want him to go to Spurs, but do I think we need Zouma? I don't think we need him. I think he's probably one of our better options at centre-back, although he does have a bit of a brain farty moment. But that's why I didn't include him in the lineup, because I could definitely see Kurt Zouma leaving in the next transfer window. So as you can see, the report suggests that Mourinho's already identified the Frenchman as a potential target to the Spurs hierarchy. Although any potential move is still in the works, it is believed that the Blues would be open to allowing Zouma to leave this summer. However, Chelsea are reportedly holding out for a high offer before they allow the 25-year-old to exit Stamford Bridge. So, of course, are we going to see Zouma leave? I think it's very possible. I think our centre-back situation is a little bit up in the air. We've got Fikayo Tomori, who is a younger prospect who looks really promising for the future. Maybe needs to get a little more physical, and I think he'd be really good. Decision-making as well, a bit of composure, a bit of calmness is something he could learn to sort of adapt into his game. You've got Rudiger, who has his sort of stupid moments. He sometimes does make big mistakes, which have cost us goals across this season. So Rudiger is one that I could definitely see being sold as well. Kurt Zouma, a very physical centre-back, what we like to see, good in the air as well. But sometimes the decision-making just isn't there. He will choose not to go up for a header or something, and then a goal comes in, or he misses a header and a goal comes in because he jumped too early or something like that. He's not the perfect centre-back, and I feel like we do need the perfect centre-back within this side, and having Fikayo Tomori next to that Van Dijk level of centre-back, I think would be really good, because he's going to... You've seen it at Liverpool, Van Dijk comes in and makes Joe Gomez look world-class, whereas before that he didn't really look all that. So it's hard to say, because I don't think we're going to sign a massive centre-back, a top name. But it's possible, and especially given that this season we've basically been told that Chelsea don't have a set budget. We have an idea of who we want to bring in, so that is Timo Werner, as we've seen. Jadon Sancho target, maybe a little less likely to happen now. Kai Havertz definitely still interested in. Ben Chilwell, I can't remember if I mentioned him. Tagliafico as a backup if we can't get Ben Chilwell. We've got our targets, and basically we will do everything we can to sign them if they're needed, and the funds aren't really a problem. If they're seen as needed, then they're going to be bought, and with players leaving, Willian Pedro, that frees up a lot of wage bill. We could see like some maybe Ross Barkley leaving, Danny Drinkwater, Bakayoko. There's a few players in this squad that could be leaving that make room for other squad level players or even top names. And as you can see here, potential replacement for Kurt Zouma is Nathan Ake. Chelsea are interested in re-signing Nathan Ake. The defender could be available more cheaply if Bournemouth are relegated, so sucks for them, but could be a great benefit to us. Chelsea are also monitoring the Brentford winger, Said Benrahma. The Algerian could be available for 15 million. So that is big news. I personally think, we've seen the talks of Jadon Sancho. I do want Jadon Sancho at the club, but I feel like we're being really greedy if we bring him in, because then you've got Timo Werner who can play left, Callum who can play left, Pulisic who can play left. On the right, you've got Pulisic can play right, Hakim Ziyech can play right, and Jadon Sancho would be able to play on both of those wings as well. And I just think there's a lot of players there competing for the same spot. So as much as I would love to sign Jadon Sancho, I think it might not be a wise move unless we see someone leaving for Jadon Sancho to come in. But Said Benrahma would be a perfect signing because he's relatively cheap, 15 million. We went over him in a previous video, and he has got goals to his name. He's got assists to his name. So he is a very exciting championship player at the moment. And for 15 million, that would be a great deal, and I'm sure he would welcome the move to Chelsea. So Said Benrahma, if he could accept, realizing that he's going to have to work hard to get into the team and being an amazing option off the bench, I would really like us to sign Said Benrahma, especially for 15 million. That's really cheap. Nathan Ake, I always have thought he's looked pretty good since he's been away at Bournemouth, and I could definitely see us signing him, and I could definitely see him improving our defence. He's used to the sort of struggle of the Premier League. He knows the physicality. He's very strong. He's very good in the air. But is he that top tier signing? No. But who are we going to sign that is that top tier signing at centre back at the moment? So I think Nathan Ake would be a good acquisition. Depends on what the price is. If they do get relegated and it's a very cheap price, maybe he'd be worth bringing in, especially if we sell Zouma. Could be a very good buy. And of course, Said Benrahma, yes, I want him at our club. And then a quick little update, Matt Law tweeting, I'm told tonight that Roma have held talks with Pedro over a free transfer move at the end of the season. That was tweeted today, so I think it's very likely that we will see Pedro and Willian leaving this season. I think it's pretty much written in the stars now, especially that we've signed Timo Werner. I would just like to say thank you to Pedro. I think he's been really good for our club, and I wish him all the best at Roma. I think that's a good move for him because it's still a pretty top-level club, and I think he'll do bits there. So, see you, Pedro. Thank you for everything you've done. I hope you have a good, rest of your career. And then something I wanted to touch on, report Lampard and Cech visited Germany to meet Timo Werner. So if you guys haven't seen this, agent Frank Lampard and Petr Cech went over to Germany in February to convince RB Leipzig striker Timo Werner to move to Stamford Bridge. So this shows that, we're seeing all these news outlets reporting certain things and we're talking about it, making videos about it. But in February, they went to Germany to convince Timo Werner to come to Chelsea. Let's go through this a little more. According to a report from The Telegraph, Chelsea director Marina Granovskaya gave her full backing to Lampard and Cech making the trip, which clarified the club's willingness to meet Werner's £53 million release clause. Lampard and Cech their visit impressed Werner, his family and his representatives, while the Chelsea pair were encouraged by Werner's driven but humble character, claimed the report. So that shows that Chelsea this season are playing on another level. Everyone else is playing 3D chess, they're playing 48D chess. They are working amazingly this season. Having Petr Cech at the club, imagine Timo Werner knows Frank Lampard. He knows about what he's done. I'm sure he knows about Petr Cech as well. So imagine having those two rock up at I don't know whether it was a club meeting. I doubt it. I think it was probably more a home meeting or meeting in a neutral location. And imagine just rocking up to a meeting with Frank Lampard and Petr Cech. Like, Timo Werner, he knows about Frank Lampard. He knows about the project. I'm sure he was very interested to see what they could offer. And clearly, they're a persuasive pair. And Frank Lampard has got a lot of pull, as we can see from this transfer window. Getting Ake Ziyech before the window even opens. Getting Timo Werner, fingers crossed it all goes through, before the window even opens. Like, this is insane. Like, and this gives more reason, like, on the off chance we were still going for Jadon Sancho, this gives even more reason for a player like him to want to come to us, because you're like, damn, like, look, all these great players are signing for Chelsea. None of them currently block Sancho's role. So Sancho could be looking at that and being like, damn, like, Chelsea really got something going on. They signed Timo Werner. They play in the same league at the moment. He could be like, damn, like, I know how sick he is. I would like to be crossing, and playing with Timo Werner to try and help him score more goals, to get me to score more goals in the Premier League. So if we do go for Sancho, I could see this being a big positive for us. And of course, like I said, we're still very interested in Kai Havertz. So that could be a very good pull as well. If he can see, okay, I can make that cam role mine in this Chelsea squad. I'll have Timo Werner ahead of me, Ake Ziyech on the right, Pulisic on the left, or Timo on the left, Tammy up front, Ake Ziyech on the right. Like, he can see that and be like, damn, like, there's a lot of quality around me. I can do good things here. We can win trophies. So then, as I mentioned in previous videos, I do like to address any of your guys' questions at the end of a video. And T. Olsen left a very good question in yesterday's video. And he said, question, with Werner's ability to play on the left, among others, would it be completely off the table for the club to offer Hudson-Odoi in a partial swap deal for Sancho? Dortmund like the young top talents, and Hudson-Odoi may be willing to make the move given his legal troubles, loss of form since his injury, and added competition. I mean, it may cut 30-40 mil off the price, and who could complain about that? So, very interesting proposition that you've raised there. Like, could we offer Hudson-Odoi, take 30-40 million off the price for Sancho? Then maybe you're looking at, we've seen prices of 87 million, I think. So rumored around there. We hear a lot that it's going to be 100 million. So if it comes down to 60-70 million, something like that, if it is the 100 million price tag, if it is the 87 price tag that is true, then if we get 40 mil off for Callum Hudson-Odoi, it's only 47 million for Jadon Sancho, and we're getting rid of a player that, he's had his injury problem. Yeah, I think it's harsh to judge him off of his form since his injury, because obviously it's such a devastating injury, it can ruin a career. So they will be very cautious about that. But I also think that we need to be cautious on not letting go of a player like Callum Hudson-Odoi, because we know he's got great talent. Do I think he's going to... There's a lot of people that think Callum's going to be Sancho level. I personally don't, but I'd love to be proven wrong. But is it off the table? I think it's very possible. Like, a lot of reporters are saying that swap moves will be a little more likely this season because clubs don't want to spend money as much, but obviously they want to bring players in. So how do you do that? You do it with material products, which in the football world is players. So if I give you this, you give me that, is a lot easier than, okay, you give me that, I give you 60-70 million. Like, that sort of deal is a little off the table for a lot of clubs at the moment, not Chelsea, of course, because we have the perfect storm leading up to this pandemic. So is it off the table? No, I think it's definitely a possibility. Do I want to lose Hudson-Odoi? If he's gonna, we've seen him cause problems before, the whole talks of him going to Bayern. If he isn't committed to the club, and seeing these signings sort of makes him think, I'm not asked for this. I thought I was going to be the starting left winger at Chelsea, and now I've got Timo Werner to compete with. We got Ake Ziyech on the other side. You got Christian Pulisic. Like, there are a lot of good wingers at our club now, so he's got a lot of competition, which hopefully raises the bar for everyone involved and everyone competing for those spots. But if he's not got the mentality for it, and if Frank can, sort of sense that maybe, then absolutely, I would be fine with seeing Callum Hudson-Odoi move on and us getting Jadon Sancho, because I think Sancho is going to be a top talent. And like I mentioned, like, there's going to be an overload of players if we sign too many wingers, and that means that eventually someone is going to want to leave, and you hope it's not your best players. So getting rid of Hudson-Odoi, who I'd say, out of Ake Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi, I would say Callum is probably at the bottom of the pile at the moment. I think Christian Pulisic has shown a great eye for goal, and I think we'll see a lot coming from Christian Pulisic. Ake Ziyech, obviously, we know he's proven. He's in his prime years. I think he's going to do great things in the Premier League. Hudson-Odoi, he's at the bottom, but he's got the potential to go real high. Like, you got to remember how young he is. And would I like this move to happen? I think, yeah, because I really, really, really want Jadon Sancho. I don't think he's, a one-season wonder or he's going to flop or anything. Like, he's got an insane record. He's on the trajectory of a Messi, like Ronaldo level at the moment. So you need to keep that in mind. Like, is Hudson-Odoi that level? I don't think so. So is it off the table? No, I think it's definitely a possibility, especially with the current climate. Do I personally want it to happen? I would give this one a thumbs up. And thank you for your question, T. Olsen. I love these sort of scenarios that people put forward. So if anyone wants to put any sort of questions on this video for me to address in future ones, I can certainly do that. That's going to be the end of the video, guys. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.